The contentious clauses, that is in the Finance Bill 2024, and they held a parliamentary group meeting at State House on Tuesday. This is what was filed by our very own Brian Amoy.
Opposition from Kenyans with the hashtag Reject Finance Bill 2024 taking center stage on social platforms. The voice of the Kenyan people seemed to have fallen on listening ears at the House on the Hill. On Tuesday, President William Ruto's government, after a parliamentary group meeting, announced the dropping of the proposals that have been termed as punitive. The government dropped the 16% VAT proposal on bread, which had become a subject of debate.
The proposed 16% VAT on bread has been dropped. To support, again, on reducing the cost of living, we are doing something about vegetable oil so that we do not make it expensive for Kenyans. Transfer of mobile services is a key concern to many Kenyans, and therefore, again, we have proposed that we do not have any increase on taxation on mobile phone transfer.
The eco-levy, which was intended to help in environment conservation, has also been dropped.
All locally manufactured items, and especially including diapers and sanitary towels, will not be subject to eco-levy.
Other proposals that have been dropped include VAT on the transportation of sugar, VAT on financial services and foreign exchange transactions, increase in mobile money transfers, excise duty on vegetable oil, and 2.5% motor vehicle tax has also been removed.
We are devoting more money back into people's pockets, especially the employed Kenyans who have been contributing to the housing levy. The housing levy has been proposed together with the Social Health Insurance Fund, the National Social Security Fund, and now the housing levy to be tax deductible. And that will ensure that what will be subjected to pay as you earn will be an amount less than what was there before. And therefore, more disposable income will be going to many employed Kenyans.
The government has also announced that levies on the Housing Fund and Social Health Insurance Fund will become income tax deductible. The threshold for VAT registration has been increased from 5 million to 8 million shillings. Therefore, many small businesses will no longer need to register for VAT. Responsibility for the electronic invoicing items recently introduced by KRA has been receded from farmers and small businesses with a turnover of below 1 million shillings. To balance this, the government has proposed the excess duty on imported table eggs, onions and potatoes to protect local farmers.
We as a country have made huge investments with our farming communities, and therefore we are intentional on protecting those farmers. That is why you hear the proposals to levy excise duty on imported potatoes, imported table eggs and onions.
The bill has been tabled in the National Assembly on Tuesday afternoon, awaiting debate on Wednesday and Thursday before a vote is taken.
And we are now going to end up with in a product in Parliament that came from the executive, interrogated by the legislature. Through public participation, the people of Kenya have had a say on it. It will go to the floor of the House, and we have a very robust system of governance in Kenya.
Brian Amoy, K24, Nairobi.
And now to focus on this Finance Bill 2024 report in studio, I'm joined by, on my right is Honorable Martin Peters Owino, Ndiwa Member of Parliament. Thank you so much for occasioning time this morning.
Thank you.
As well, seated in the middle is a member of the Finance and National Planning Committee. That is Honorable CPA Julius Ruto, also Member of Parliament, KSS. Thank you so much for occasioning time.
Thank you.
And Mohamed Ado, who is the Wajir South Member of Parliament. Thank you so much for creating time this morning. And now to CPA Julius Ruto, just to begin with you. Perhaps what informed the decision of, first of all, having this report out in the parliamentary group meeting at State House before Parliament? Is it not procedural to have the report first tabled by the committee?
Thank you so much, Joe, and followers of this particular program. You will appreciate that Parliament is constituted of party lines, and there is a majority side and a minority. And as usual, bills like budget, bills like finance bill, and other critical bills always involves a question of persuasion, and it's a party position. It is not only the Kenya Kwanza who have met. Even yesterday afternoon, I'm sure you're aware, the other side of Asimi also did their meeting.
However, after the report was already tabled around 5:15 p.m.
It's a report that was a product of public participation. It is not a secret. The difference now is what is being canvassed in the floor of the House. That is what now will culminate into the following, as a procedures, into the following stages that are supposed to be followed. But as it is, and remember, as I've said...
So it was proper to have the report out?
It was proper. I mean, there's nothing wrong.
Let me just hear from
that is why we have what we call political process, because it's a question of having proper representation.
Honorable Martin Owino, procedurally, is it possible to first of all have a report out either in the media or in a parliamentary group meeting before it being tabled on the floor of the House? Yet it's a report of the committee and not that of the parliamentary group meeting, not the resolutions of that particular PG meeting.
No, even my friend knows this is wrong. But allow me to say first, condemn all the police officers who are poured on the street to beat and maim Kenyans for standing on their rights, who are very peaceful and picketing, which is allowed by the Constitution. Chacha, you know, before independence, we were beaten by the colonists then, who are white. But now we are black on black. This is not acceptable. And we should all condemn this, regardless of the party line. Freedom of association, picketing, and expression of what you don't like should be allowed in this country. Otherwise, we are regressing so much. Now, to him, all the reports must be tabled and the parliament and then debated. That is the procedure. And what really is now affecting us most is that this presidential system is not working for Kenyans, because parliament is supposed to be independent and out of State House and out of executive influences. We mirrored what US did, but US is a bit disciplined in what they do. We have not had people, if it is consultation, head of the majority leader and all that should go and do, but usually there is three governments. Executive, which is now the route to administration. We have also the legislation where we are. The parliament, which is Senate and National Assembly, should be independent. And of course, the judiciary, which interprets the law. So where we are going with this mongrel is what is confusing us most. And I think as parliamentarians, we should represent the people, legislate, and oversight. You cannot go to the person you are oversighting to consult. What are we doing? So leave alone discussing what have not been tabled, which is wrong, but also having the executive influence in parliamentary proceeding, very wrong and should not be tolerated.
And now to Honorable Ado, you have an advantage of having, of course, covered several countries, being a former journalist in an international media house. How was it like in those countries during such processes? And did it augur well with you to see the report of the House being canvassed in a parliamentary group meeting at State House?
Thank you, Joe. It raised eyebrows for sure, and every country has got its own nuanced political processes, and ours seem to be exactly what we have witnessed. It's not right, I would say, for the head of state to whip members of his coalition ahead of these crucial bills. Every time there's a crucial bill, meeting happens in the State House, members are whipped by none other than the head of state and other party bigwigs. But that is now our political culture. It has become our political culture. I don't see a big problem with the president trying to get his policies passed in parliament. Whatever he does, whatever tactics he uses, but releasing the statement there before it gets to the floor of the House, for me, spoke of panic, given the massive overpouring of emotions by Kenyans, talking about expressing their issues with more taxation in this day and age, when they're already groaning under the burden of heavy taxation, the cost of living, going through the roof. And I think it was more about pacifying public opinion more than anything else. I don't know whose advice it was, but I believe it was best if it came to the floor of the House before the party and the party bigwigs reacted as they did.
Well, not sure whether still CPA Ruto believes in what you're saying, but now get to the nitty-gritties.
I would want to believe in aspect of every regime or every arrangement has got its own way of doing things. But of course, on the issues of protest, I would maybe want to remind Owino how peaceful it was when, as we talk, there are many people who came out as they were hurted during this process, including one police officer who's I'm yet to confirm that his hands has been amputated. So I don't know at what point was this demonstration peaceful.
He actually detonated a tear gas canister and delayed to release it. That's the point when his hands got injured.
That's what he said. On the other side is how he was attacked. So all he said and done, you would tell how peaceful it was when already some aftermath have come like that. But nonetheless, to say, I would want to agree to some extent, but not to some extent. Reason why, every policy, every bill, not only in Kenya, across, and that's why we have divide in the House, because of political views and political processes that engages, that implies, again, democracy. So let's not, because today it's on the other side, we seem to be seeing that this is wrong. If it was on the other side, that is a process. Because at any given time, if you don't have an opportunity to have your troops reason together, it was very essential for the team to reason together, because from today, when the debate will come to the floor, the team will be also putting up a points or defense or, presentation and discussion from the knowledge point of view of what is in the content of the bill.
Well,
because that bill,
let's now get to
that bill is a product of public participation. And public participation, it was only a committee of 15 members who were engaged in writing up the report and listening to public participation. The entire team were not part of it, so they first of all needed also to have come across and appreciate the content in that.
Let's now get to the nitty-gritties. The report by the Finance Committee scrapped off 16% VAT on bread, 2.5% motor vehicle tax that has also been removed, among others. And just to narrow down to this 2.5% motor vehicle tax that now you don't consider as an income tax, is it possible for this particular tax to still come back? Because that's the concern of many Kenyans.
Well, first of all, there is something that Kenyans need to know. Parliament, as put by Mheshimiwa Owino, is an independent arm of government. This proposal of finance bill is a product that is tabled in the House or submitted to the House procedurally from the executive side. They gave their proposals. We invited the members of public. They gave us their views. We had stakeholders who are practitioners in tax world, and they gave us critical acumen. Like they took us to Section 3, subsection 2 of the Income Tax Act, defining what is an income tax and what is this particular subject of a tax. And the law is very clear. It takes anything that is critically defined as income tax to be an income. And trying to look at a motor vehicle is an asset. It is not an income. So in that case, technically, that particular proposal failed on that. As to whether it will come in future, maybe it will come in another way, because as we are aware, if you look at Germany, France, they have a tax regime called motor vehicle circulation tax. And it is not also a tax on income, but rather it is a protective levy on environmental related issues. It is a levy on carbon emission. So maybe in future, if that one would come, and then because it's already existing, maybe when at that time that discussion will come. But for now, under all circumstances, that particular proposal failed technically because it was wrongly placed. I don't know the motive behind what Treasury or, of course, the relevant stakeholders or a sector wanted in this particular proposal. So that technically, as a committee, we bite in what the public contributed, acumen from the public, and looking at the law, technically it was not going to happen.
Honorable Martin, you know, before the National Treasury brings this money bill in Parliament, I believe the experts were supposed to review, and even lawyers. Yes. And according to the Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Chris Kipto, before such proposals come forth, the Cabinet reviews them. Yes. Are we having an incompetent Cabinet or Treasury that, even with the basics that a motor vehicle is not an income, it's a wealth, then they still bring these proposals, you know, to the Parliament for you to review whether it's wealth or income? Is it, first of all, fair? Are we having an incompetent Cabinet and as well the National Treasury?
No, you know, when a rat is cornered in, you will always try to get means on how to escape. All these are not new. This administration has very good economists, very good advisors, but you cannot advise on taxing bread, edible oil, diapers, money, transfers, and sugar, transportation, motor vehicles, all this. They cannot. To me, this is gimmicks. This is yo-yo. This is ping pong. You know, even if you have to test water, don't test water with both your legs. You will sink. So this was trying to entice, okay, if we put them there and we brought it in, you know, this public relation. But you cannot do that with the lives of people. Like now, people are in cells, some are injured, you're talking, because of this kind of game. They knew very well that this will not sit pretty good with Kenyan. They knew. Because we are still having a lot of negative impact with the last 2023 finance bill. We have not recovered. Kenyans have not recovered. So why do you have to add another load? That's what my party leader says, Punda amechoka. Akichoka, he can kick you, even if you get off the load. So what you are asking, which is true, this was not meant to go through because they knew it would not go through. This was meant to win Kenyans and then play with their emotions and later on give a press statement from State House to see that they are caring. They are not caring at all. If you care, you would review what the past finance bill is doing on Kenyans. As we speak here, and I know the MP from Keses and my colleague will testify, many kids are going to school empty stomach. Many kids are dropping from school. And many people are not finding drugs in the hospitals. Those three, education, health, and agriculture, is what should bring household together. That is now dissipated by the last one. So bringing this, telling us that this was it, now it is not removed. This is a gimmick, to be precise. Doing something you know very well is just enticing some kind of sympathy, and you know what you are doing. So what we are doing now is the devil is in the kitchen, and we know. We are going to examine that report where they have transferred this money to, because now they have a deficit.
We'll be getting actually to that. Honorable Ado, perhaps because of the fear of this particular 2.5% suffering a court injunction, now that there is an intention, already this has been canvassed, are we likely to see this coming back? And what does it tell the common mwananchi?
I don't think I'm brave enough to predict whether it will come back, given how things have been happening.
Because we saw that with the housing bill. Of course, through the finance bill 2023.
I'm not brave enough to predict, Joe. The issue here is we're seeing a situation where we are offering quick fixes to the economy when we know we are heavily indebted. One of the first questions I asked when we were elected to Parliament, in the early sessions of the 13th Parliament, I asked, are we debt? I mean, is there a stress? Is there I mean, are we unable to cope up with our debt situation? Do we need restructuring? At that point, the answer was a vehement no from the government side. But going by what has already been happening, we can deduce that, yes, we are facing a problem with our debt. And when trying to turn around the economies of heavily indebted countries, there are a number of procedures that need to be borne in mind or to be taken. And it's not just a quick fix. We need to start stimulating the economy. And you cannot stimulate the economy with more taxes. We cannot stimulate the economy with increasing the cost of production. We cannot stimulate the economy when there is flight of capital from our country. Manufacturers are closing shop and going to neighboring countries. Many people who wanted to directly invest in our country are holding back because of the economic upheavals we are facing. And that is not lending any confidence to not just Kenyans who are facing a rising cost of living. And I have a lot of respect for the president's economic advisors. They're some of the sharpest minds we have in Kenya. And I don't know where the disconnect is. But increasingly, we're seeing knee-jerk policies, like putting tax on bread, for example.
Well.
Bread. and I think at a certain point, we will have to go back to the drawing board because we're not helping the economy. Yes, we're facing a race against time. We're supposed to be to deal with the debt crisis. The president has his heart in the right place. But again, looking solely at Kenyans, of course, Kenyans have to save their country because they're the first sovereign of Kenya.
Well,
they have to bear the cost of anything that comes down on the country. But again, the people we are taxing are the mamambogas and the border riders and all those people who are trying to make ends meet and who the Honorable MP for Niwa said are sending their children to school on an empty stomach. So.
Well, at that juncture, I also invite you to give your views on the Finance Bill 2024 report. And of course, I'll be sampling some of your feedback before wrapping up Nude on this morning. But at that juncture, we'll take a short commercial break. When we come back, we'll also be focusing on the Gen Z protests that took place yesterday. We take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more. Stay tuned.